All right, everybody, welcome to another edition here on the Whiskeyed Gingers podcast. We got Chris, I'm Brandon, joined by Jeff, and the Whiskey of the Week was brought to you by Jeff. Couldn't believe we hadn't done this one. He kind of pitched it in the group chat, and it was like, I think we did it, but I'm not really sure. I don't know about you. I didn't have anything dialed up, so we could have done it twice.
I think we burned through a lot of our spontaneous things we've been sitting on.
Yeah. So we went back. Jeff's avid listener, co-host, guest star, etc.
At what point does Jeff become co-host with us? How many episodes does it have to be? Is it a frequency thing or an amount of episodes?
I just want to be your most frequent guest.
You are by far our most frequent guest.
I suppose that could be
contributor of whiskey.
That's fair. It could be like a more important title than third guest host or third co-host.
Yeah, I don't want to be a third one. I'm number one, baby.
He's our lead correspondent.
That is true.
Yeah. We got Jeff out in the streets.
Exactly.
Man on the street working.
He's cold calling, knocking on doors.
He's our head of sales and marketing.
I tell people my office too. I gotta make sure they're watching.
Exactly. Isn't that so funny? I'm not even hating on anybody right now, but you tell people all the time what you do, and they're like, "Oh, I'd love to check that out. I'm going to tune in this week," and nobody ever does. Nobody ever does.
But you know what? That's their loss. Because it's going to be a great episode. It's one of those ones where Woodford's going to get its due. Don't get me wrong, but we talked about this early on. This is a 2/3 let's drink about it kind of episode because a lot has happened with the three of us that we haven't really gotten to recap at all. So we'll do it live for you guys. Yeah. But we'll get to the fun stuff in a second. I mean, not that the whiskey isn't the fun stuff. Don't get me wrong.
It's the precursor to the rest of the fun stuff.
Was I here for your last episode? Sorry to interrupt.
I think you were.
I was.
Yeah. No.
Done one since then?
Yeah. No, it was at my house.
Your place.
You were with us for last pod. Yeah. It's been a while. We do apologize. It's been so long. We had a couple life events going on, which we are going to touch on.
Yes.
Which is cool there. But yeah, we're back at it.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice from the version of eating your vegetables for us because we want to get to the second part of it. But we have to get through the whiskey part. That's a pretty awesome half hour.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right, so.
Oh my God, you're really twisting my arm to open up the bad part. The broccoli part of this night is opening up the whiskey.
I always eat my veggies first.
Get that out of the way.
So Jeff, what do we got going for us here? I'm sure most people are very familiar with the bottle.
We read the bottle. There's nothing on this.
Yeah, I tried to read it again.
There's no shit on there.
And if you don't know Woodford,
you're probably not listening to the podcast.
I'm surprised. Yeah, exactly. So it's Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey here. We got 90.4 proof, just your normal Kentucky bourbon. So
yeah, I mean,
there's not much on this.
No, there's nothing, which kind of makes it look clean.
They're very short, sweet, and simple with their labeling there.
Distillery site, there's not much on it.
Yeah.
But Woodford, definitely super popular brand. We're going to give it a go. I've had Woodford. I'm pretty sure all of us have had Woodford. Yeah. This isn't necessarily a first-time tasting review on this guy. It's just something that we're all going to know we pretty much enjoy having. We're going to maybe re-familiarize ourselves with the palate of it because even though I have had it, it's actually been a little while since I've had Woodford. So
you guys do prefer it, though, or not?
As far as you go to a bar and you can pretty much guarantee Woodford's going to be there. I mean, I'd probably reach for that or Bullet if I was unsure of what their selection was or if they had a small selection.
We'll get the Bullet later.
Yeah,
that came up as well. But yeah, for instance, when I got engaged, we were at a hotel and I was like, well, I'm getting a stiff drink immediately after, and I didn't recognize a lot of the whiskey bottles, which typically we thrive in, and we go, oh, let me try something new. At the kind of hotel I was at, I didn't know if I had the funds to try something new. So it's all old reliable here. And we went with Woodford Reserve, and it treated me all right. But without further ado, we're going to let our bottle guy get to work here. This one's looks a little bit formidable.
Easy packaging.
Oh, nice. Okay.
If you're selling as many units as Woodford sells, it's got to be an easy package.
There is a little secondary clip here, though.
It's a safety mechanism. You see, you got to get rid of the tape.
Oh, all right, Woodford points on the pop.
Absolutely.
Pretty solid. Very scientific method for testing whiskey quality.
I'm gonna let you guys pour to taste here.
Yes. For once, Chris isn't driving.
I drove a combination of 7 hours today during work. which to anybody that drives for a living is probably like, oh, this guy's just, a newbie.
Yeah, long haul truckers.
But no, I'm not a truck driver, so 7 hours is very outside the norm of driving for me.
I'd say for so far, back and forth, or
I had to go all the way to the shore today
oh,
to drop some stuff off to some of our guys. And then I had an errand to run for work on the way back that put me in Morrisville, which was like 2 hours from where I was, 2 hours there, 2 hours there, an hour back to the It was a whole mess.
Gotcha.
I digress.
Yeah.
But yes, I could use a nice glass of Woodford after today.
And yes, we are using wine glasses, but one of my whiskey glasses is MIA.
Amazing.
So,
cheers, gentlemen. That's
like riding
Woodford.
the bike. Also a good way to put it. It's exactly the way you remember it every single time.
I do find it impressive in general. There's a lot to be said about any whiskey company. And you find, maybe it's just me thinking it, but the larger companies, every time you have it, it's the exact same.
Yes, they're very consistent.
I mean, there's a testament there. Like, there's a reason these companies do so well. Like, if you bought a bottle of Woodford off the shelf one day and all of a sudden it just tastes like crap, you'd be like, what is going on here? There'd be like riots in the streets.
well,
People expect like a consistent whiskey when they buy these big name brands.
Yeah. What was the distillery that was just underwater with the last storm they had?
Buffalo Trace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that'll affect the taste of? They probably have multiple sites, right?
I'm sure they do. I didn't look too much into how many sites they have or like how integral that one is for that, but I'm sure it's certainly going to hurt their production. I wouldn't be surprised to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see an increase in Buffalo Trace prices because like it becomes a little bit more hard to come by. That's a possibility, but you never really know.
That's definitely that's one of because Buffalo Trace is a Sazerac product. I still have friends in the industry. That is one of their prime like U.S. hubs.
It's like a large location.
So it's going to be a problem. Yeah.
It'll hit them in some way, I'm sure, because I mean you're going to lose product. You're going to lose, it's going to hit us in some way. Yeah, it's a good thing I don't buy Buffalo Trace all that often. I think it's a great whiskey, but like there's a price point thing there that I usually don't subscribe to.
Yes, fair point. But no, this is really good whiskey. We do kind of know what it costs already, but it isn't brand new to any of us. And I would say for what it costs, it is up there with some of the more impressive whiskeys in the $30 category, to where like you said, you know exactly what you're going to get every single time. We've had some boom or bust 30s that have far exceeded expectations. We've also had some 38, 39s that have fallen far below expectations.
I would say that this is probably more standard, like not that it really matters. We're splitting hairs here, but I think it's probably normally more available in like the low 40s.
Yeah.
I think that Jeff just happened to buy it at a really well-priced Jersey liquor store.
Yeah.
I mean, in Pennsylvania, I'd be willing to bet this is a $40 bottle, even $2 extra. But
I got $4 or $5 off, so I said it's one I reached for. I hadn't had it in a year. That's why I grabbed it.
We've talked about it before. It's like it's funny what we'll consider changing our opinions on over like a $2-3 difference.
Yeah.
We'll be like, all right, well, this is a $38 bottle. I'm okay with that being at like the top of my $30 range and like standing ahead of the $30 other ones we've had. But you enter like the $40 one, and I'm like, all right, well, if we're talking 40s now, then like that might be a range where I can start putting some heavy hitters in there. Damn, you get to 50 and you're like, all right, we got some options for sure.
Yeah. It's when that first digit changes, you're in a whole different
Exactly. It could be totally between like a $48 bottle and a $51 bottle. That $3 difference doesn't seem like a lot, but it's just where I start grouping things that changes it for me.
Yeah, mentally. That's why everything, I mean, we're not the smartest creatures. Like that's why when you go to stores, everything is $19.95, $21.99. Like,
sure.
It does matter.
Is there anything notable about Woodford that you guys want to talk about?
You guys to express your feelings, because I'm reading it right now. I have it up.
Yeah, kind of a tough day, Jeff.
What's that?
Say you want to express myself. That's kind of a tough day. I would like to talk about it.
I just want to see if you can pick up on anything as you're sipping it.
Oh man, we suck at this.
It's impossible.
Oh, you want us to guess all the time? Yeah, I have a hard time
guess.
with that.
If you don't want to guess, I'll just read it to you. But I always find it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They're all pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean,
all right. Well,
I suck at. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the fuck.
I'll just read it.
Yeah, what you got? There you go.
Woodford Reserve is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey known for its complex flavor profile, aging process, Made of a blend of corn, rye, malted barley, charred in white oak barrels.
Okay, that tracks.
White oak. Okay. The flavor profile is typically rich and smooth. Notes of dried fruit, citrus, coca, caramel, and spice. And it says it has a warm finish.
Caramel, I get.
Yeah, and I can see the warm finish. Like it does. I mean, most whiskeys do, but
The dry fruit thing I found is more and more common in the ones that we actually really like too.
yeah,
I think it adds that little bit of sweetness that cuts some of the bourbons down a little bit.
What
I don't
about
know.
Citrus. Do you typically read citrus in a bourbon?
Hey, I mean, I
that's
think
a big
that
Irish whiskey thing.
that really is a cool thing for you making an old fashioned. It kind of already plays
Yeah,
into it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like that's kind of nice to have.
It also says the mash bill is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley.
I think
Very
that's a
interesting.
staple for bourbon. I think it's
I don't
primarily
know,
corn.
72 sounds high. Is that typically?
Yeah.
For corn.
Okay. Aged in charred American white oak barrels. I said that.
And that was to tie into that, I had already told you guys this today, but like I had learned, and this is like a newbie thing for us, but we're learning as we go. That's the whole fun of this experience.
Yeah.
But you can only ever use a barrel once for bourbon. You can never use the same barrel again to make bourbon a second time, because for whatever reason, that's just the standard bourbon barrels. It's, either put in or charred and then put in, but it's a one-time deal.
You're soaking all the flavor out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you sell it to another company and they get, I guess, way less of the wood flavor comes into into whatever they're making, and more of the bourbon flavor that's left over goes into it.
Yes, you don't save the chewed up piece of gum, right?
Yeah.
What's been
Unless you're putting it in something else, I guess. I don't know. With that kind of logic, maybe you repurpose it for something else.
What's been a cool innovation though is, and I think we had it at one of the places in Florida, is now beer companies are starting to repurpose those barrels because
Yeah.
they don't need like the real high proof, and you'll start seeing some beers that are stored in whiskey barrels.
And they do retain some of that flavor. Like there's a lot of bourbon beers, like where
Yeah.
they're aged in bourbon barrels, and you
Mhm.
get like a little bit of that bourbon flavor to it. I've seen it very well done, and I've seen it really badly done.
I've seen it where it tastes like a half and half.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not a big fan of them, to be completely honest.
I've never
I-
even heard of this.
You've never seen this
No,
before?
maybe I'm just not
Oh, it's a
paying
big
close
thing.
enough.
They're out there, yeah.
There's a company that, like, if you saw the bottle, you would know it immediately. It's like I'm just gonna pull it up because I'm curious.
Yeah. To Chris's point, the aftertaste isn't always executed well, because you don't, like, beers are supposed to be light, crisp, refreshing, and some of these get like that aftertaste, like a bourbon burn almost.
This is like the one that comes to mind for me. Is this it? Hold on.
I've seen it in more.
Yeah, this is it. It's a Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale.
Oh yeah.
If you see this in the store, pick it up because it's interesting. And I mean, to even some of our viewers, it's called Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's definitely a beer. It has some things that taste like a beer, but you're going to end every sip thinking, wow, that tastes a lot like bourbon. And in
Yeah.
my opinion, at that point, I'd rather just have the bourbon.
Yes.
That's where I feel like it falls short.
Interesting. Is it that powerful? Usually it's
No, it's not subtle.
Yeah.
It's not
there.
subtle.
And that's kind of like we were saying. It's whiskey and beer are kind of opposites. Like
Yeah.
beer, you want light, crisp, cold. I mean, I like my whiskey cold, but you guys don't. So having that,
I mean,
all
it's
those
not
flavor
hot.
profiles, yeah, and then to taste whiskey at the back end, not to mention carbonated.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit bizarre.
It is a little weird. I mean, there are beers that are like stouts or
Yeah.
an option to get away from that. But I mean, yeah, there's always people are going to have different preferences on what they like.
Bourbon stout, I could maybe get down with.
That wouldn't be as bad.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. But I think that it's probably a good time as any to segue into our Let's Drink About It here, which has a lot to do with recapping a fun stepping stone for Jeff here.
Yeah, which is why you haven't heard from us in about a month. The last episode
We've been gone for a month.
we were getting ready to go to Jeff's bachelor party. Chris and I kind of both made the executive decision the Tuesday before we left that probably wasn't the best time to knock out a pod.
Mhm.
I think we were right because it was busy enough as it was when we left and got back.
Timing wise, that would have been a nightmare.
It would have been a lot. And then when we got back, you're catching up from all the stuff you missed while you were on the bachelor.
And
So
you weren't even here.
I
You
wasn't
had,
home.
You had stayed longer.
Yeah, I was still in Florida. Yeah.
Yep.
So long and the short of it, that's why we're here. But we're going to dedicate the next 15 minutes because the three of us haven't really broken it down either. Like I said, they left. Chris left on one flight. Jeff left on another. I left on a third flight. So we really haven't had a chance since we left to kind of talk about it.
My flight home was miserable.
Yeah, Chris left at the ass crack of dawn.
I had to get up. I went to bed the night before I left at 3. No, that was too early. 12:30 or so. I think I laid down, and I woke up at 3:30 to get ready to get to my flight because it left at 6 a.m.
Yeah, that was.
And it was a 45-minute ride to the airport. So
you're insane. I didn't have a flight that day, and we went to bed within 10 minutes of each other because we were shared separate bunk beds.
Oh, you came to bed that early too?
Yeah,
I didn't notice.
By the end of the weekend, dude.
You left, Brandon left. It was like 1 o'clock. Kyle on the way.
Well, I woke up.
They were up till 4 in the morning.
I woke up and I was getting ready to leave, and the two of them are just all giggly hanging out in the living room. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? And they're like, yeah, we've been watching clips on YouTube all night. I'm like, oh god,
it was
these
a cool
guys gonna have
bachelor
a
party.
tough time.
It doesn't sound like it right now. It was a really good time.
It was an amazing time. I have to say, the Airbnb that we stayed at was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, what amazing views. What a cool place. I know that I gave you a lot of pushback, and we even joked about it in our last pod at my house about
I'll take one.
About how like bachelor parties are starting to get a little insane with the timing and the vacation and everything else. I don't regret it. I think that we had an amazing time. I think that it was money well spent. I'll say that. It was money well spent. 100%. We had a good time. And as long as Jeff had a good time, that's all that matters.
I had a great time. It was something like, and I forget who I was talking. I might have been talking to, I think it might have been Ryan Olson on the way to the airport. But it almost had like, everybody's adults. Everybody's got their own shit. Like all of us are between like, for the most part, 26 and early 30s. Like you have life. And it was almost like kind of summer camp for adults. Like, yeah. Like, you know, you meet all these people for Chris and I, for the most part, for the first time on like Thursday, and you're thrown right into living together. And by the end, it was like, I mean, I'm going to see these guys in a month, but like, I'm going to miss waking up and going on bike rides with this guy, or like, you know, like leaving half the crew and going to a nightclub. Like, you just have these memories with these adults that like you otherwise would never have outside of that scenario.
It was cool. I know Ryan Malloy too, like, didn't know half the people on the trip. He came up to me like the first day. It's like, we're gonna have an awesome weekend.
Yeah,
and
you
it was.
Tell immediately.
It's the beauty of, and I hate to say this on live, but I was gonna say the beauty of being a dude. Like you can get thrown in the mix with a bunch of dudes, and even if there's like one or two guys that really aren't hitting off that super well, it doesn't put a damper on like the situation. We all had a good time. Everybody was willing to get to know each other, and I think at the end, a lot of us like wound up being pretty friendly. At the end, like I went up saying like I'd hang out with those guys again.
Yeah,
and
I'm
that's
excited
cool.
to see everybody again in a month. Like, I'm glad that it's that quick. But I feel like we do need like the whole bachelor party. A lot of this, I mean, overall it was a pretty PG bachelor party, which doesn't make for great podcasting material. With the 10 minutes that we do have left, I think we need to address
Friday,
just in a whole.
Because I know where you're going with this.
Because Thursday, you know, beers at the house, a little tipsy, whatever, but contained. Saturday, hey, we're flying out tomorrow, kind of contained. Friday was in the best way possible.
Friday, the day we went.
Yes.
Yes.
Friday was the bachelor party of the bachelor party.
It got tuned up to like 1,000.
Yes. Some of us at different hours of the night. But not everybody, 6 of us really hit level 10, 11, 12. Which you have to do at least once. Like, you know, it's great doing bachelor parties with people who are like adults because no one wants to get blacked out every night. But I can't explain the joy of when it does happen, of looking at your boys at different parts of the table and just going, you in? And slowly but surely, I'm in. Are you in? Yeah, I'm in. Someone get Jeff. He's in.
Well, the timeline goes that we kind of like the earlier part of the night doesn't matter as much. Yeah. Where I feel like the night took the turning point is roughly around between 8 and 9 o'clock. I think it was. We were at a rooftop bar.
Did you say 8, 9 o'clock?
That's when it was. Yeah. No way. I don't think so.
We were not at the tiki bar for 3 hours.
We were there for a while.
It was like 11 o'clock.
I don't think it was that late.
I think it was was like,
All right, let's compromise. Somewhere between
Let's call
9
it
and
10.
10.
It's called 10.
Somewhere between 9 and 10.
Nice even 10.
We were at the rooftop bar, and the rooftop bar was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that this was a good night because we can't even agree on the time that we went
What
to each
happened?
place.
I remember talking to Mike too. I would not have said let's leave at 10 o'clock. I think
So,
it was a little later.
I think it was between 9 and 10 we were at the rooftop bar. Maybe like closer to 10, maybe just after 10 we were leaving the rooftop bar. Really awesome place. The bartender at that rooftop bar was
Pouring
trying to put us
Red
all
Bulls.
to bed. He was trying to put us all to bed. So we're leaving there. I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, half our crew was gone.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what was going on. And you had grabbed me and you go, everybody's going back to the Airbnb. And I like look down at my phone. I'm thinking to myself, it's way too early
Yeah.
for Jeff to be calling it a night. I was more upset that like Jeff wasn't going to experience the Friday night, like 1 a.m. night out. I know not everybody
Can I
wants to
tell
do
my
that.
side of the story?
Yeah, go
Okay,
for it.
So we're sitting there at 11 o'clock now, whatever time it was. I could tell half the group looked like, oh my God, we've been out drinking all day. I'm ready to go home or like wind it down.
Mhm.
And then I could tell the other half of the group's like, oh my God, we have another 6 hours.
Let's wind it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like saw the split in the group, and then Mike Haley approached me. And I'm not going to lie, I had a ton
Full
of
names.
drinks. People have been. I'm sorry, I'm so.
No, you're good.
37 million. Brian's on the show. But I had a ton to drink that day. Someone kept buying me drinks, shots,
Yeah.
whatever. He came
Yeah.
up to me and he's like, "Hey, dude, what do you want to do?" And I looked over there. People that I will not name,
Mhm.
Brandon.
Yep.
Certain people look like they wanted to maybe not be out on it. And I'm like, okay, let's take that.
I was leading the charge, you
I'm
motherfucker.
kidding.
I got him on board.
Mike said, "What do you want to do?"
Not that it was hard.
We have a 20, 30-minute Uber ride home. We could go back out in town. People could stumble home. I said, that sounds great. Half the group looks like they still want to go out. We'll go out to a local bar. Thank God we didn't, because that town apparently was dead.
Kinda dead.
Right?
Yeah.
But that was kind of my logic. I'm like, I'm going to go to the bathroom, order the Uber. I'll
Yeah.
get downstairs.
I don't disagree with you, by the way. Like,
No,
I think
that's what
being the facilitator of the group, you know,
Yeah.
like your word was kind of king in this situation. I would have
Until Saturday night.
I would
until
have
Friday night.
stood behind it. What I didn't understand, because I was also in the bathroom, was I thought somebody else had made that executive decision.
No, that was me.
And I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm going to let Jeff go home right now. And I was definitely of party, wind it up, not wind it
I
down.
think most were. There were a couple people that I could tell at the time.
So I was like, all right, let's do it. So we wind up going to a tiki, was it a tiki bar in the
Well,
end?
yeah.
It had live music, which is what was important.
But you're missing a big part of the impetus of this. Because it wasn't
That Jeff had one foot in the Uber,
well,
practically.
yes, and it wasn't unanimous. It was each of us individually had kind of an inkling about what we should do. I think you and I passed each other in the hallway back and forth to the bathroom, and I was like, I'm trying to stay out. You want to stay out? And Chris is a better friend than I. He was like, make sure, Jeff, but I want to stay out. And then we got your cousin on board,
Which one?
Colin.
Colin,
Shocker.
pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
And then Chris and I were in the elevator with these Amish-looking dudes. And at this point, we were like 75-25 staying out. And these guys were just amping it up. And like, I was blackout drunk. So I'm like, fuck yeah, we're riding with these guys all night, complete nerds. But at the moment, I needed the support. We get down. Yeah, I'm calling you furiously. Do not get in the Uber, Jeff. Under no circumstances do you get in that Uber.
So Brandon's blowing up my phone. I'm in the bathroom with this like 300-pound Commanders fan. Like, tell me how much. I don't care. I gotta go. So I'm trying to be nice and be like, dude, I don't really care. Leave me alone.
Like 6 missed calls.
And then I look at my phone as I'm in the elevator, and I'm in the elevator, so I can't call back.
Yeah.
I haven't gone through.
Yeah.
I get to the lobby of this like hotel, the rooftop bar we were at. I call Brandon back. He doesn't answer. And then he calls me back immediately. He's like, don't get in the Uber. My name is on
Like
the
there's an
door.
IED in the car.
Four of the guys were already in the car.
Yeah.
I'm like shutting the door and making eye contact.
I was going to say,
They
like,
drove away.
I was going to say, like, what did they say to you? Like, when you were.
I was like, I can't get in the car. And I just shut the door. I didn't know if you guys were still upstairs or if you had already gotten an Uber.
Yeah.
Too. I was like, I may be stranded.
And the funniest
not
part about the
take
whole
it.
thing to me, so like Brandon, you speed walk to the next place we were going to. You were like moving 50% faster at
purpose.
least than anybody else in our group.
Yeah,
You were going.
That place was sick.
It was awesome.
So you have Brandon, who's 100% invested in going to this place with live music. I'm
Yeah.
glad we went. It was a blast. It was a ton of fun. And then on the polar opposite side, you have CJ in the back, who looked so
brother.
miserable
Killed
because
himself.
he would have taken your spot in that Uber back in
In a
about a heartbeat.
Yeah, but
He had a good time at the
after
live
10 minutes,
music
he's
too.
I'm so glad we came.
He had
Yeah, no, I think we had to get him out of his
Yeah,
comfort
twisted.
zone a little bit.
Yeah.
But we had a really fun time.
That's right.
They
The
paid-
dichotomy of the group.
They played Pink Pony Club live on the
Well,
stage, which was
electric.
amazing. Electric. Brandon got so excited to get to the side of the stage. He was trying to
I
get the
left
whole group
everybody.
over there. Only I went over because I didn't want you to start screaming across the whole place over and over again. And then at some point I looked at you guys and I saw nothing. You guys just
Because
looked
there was
right
nobody
through.
home.
You guys looked right through me.
I couldn't even
But by
see-
that point, you had like 10 people feeding you drinks at that place, even after you had already been like having
I
a lot
was
of drinks.
drunk when we left to go out that night.
Yeah,
At, like,
yeah.
2 o'clock, 3
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah.
So that was a long
And then we
day.
had shots at that bar the second we walk in there.
Yep.
And Ryan Fizzimer and somebody else look at Brandon and I like,
Last name dropping again.
And there's a million Ryans. And we took another
Yeah.
shot.
Well, because somebody, I don't know who paid for him. What somebody
I
did pay for him.
CJ paid.
Yeah. So I was like, well, okay, we're gonna take.
Yeah, we were going to leave shots on the bar, right?
But it was, yeah,
We didn't need 2, and we were already probably the most banked up out of the group from the last bar.
for sure.
I'd like to point out that at this stage in the story, what's so funny to me is, and this is totally non-scripted. Like we haven't had a time to talk about the events that
No.
unfold in that. So you guys are kind of just along for the ride right now.
Yeah,
because-
like it's very much a 3-person.
because we really haven't talked about this. So then eventually we get to the stage in the night where CJ comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I think Brandon and Jeff are ready to go home." And I'm like,
And
"I
he was
totally
right.
get it. I totally get it." Frankly, I was probably ready to go home too. But me and your cousin Colin decided randomly that we were going to go rally with the Amish guys.
So there was, the 4 of you stayed, if you don't forget. It was CJ, Ryan, you, and Colin.
Wait, only you?
No, no, I
Oh,
don't
no,
think so.
They came home with us.
I sobered up by this.
Mm-mm.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Because I got in the Uber. That was
You got in the Uber alone
conscious.
with him?
No, it was me, Brandon, and Kyle who left. Ryan Fizzimer, CJ, you, and Colin stayed, and then CJ
Eventually,
and Ryan eventually left.
eventually, CJ and Ryan did leave. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
That did happen.
There's no way that would have
Because I remember it happened in waves.
Yeah.
You guys left in waves.
But me, Brandon, and Kyle were definitely the ones to go.
So then the same Amish people that they're not Amish. That's
They just
terrible to
looked
say
Amish.
that. They just looked Amish. The same 2 guys that rallied us at the rooftop bar rallied me and Colin to go to a nightclub, like a proper nightclub, and we closed it out. So like it was probably 3 in the morning when that ended.
Yeah.
And then I woke up and made breakfast potatoes for
Oh,
everybody.
yeah, you did. Yeah, thank you. I was fine that next day. It's the next day that I was not.
You didn't
were
feel
like
good
a
on
24
Sunday.
hour delayed fuse. It was
Oh.
weird.
Like Sunday, you didn't feel good.
Sunday I was ready to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, it was just like compounding. And on Saturday, I had taken it pretty easy because I knew I had to wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. But I feel like you guys, especially when we found Ferg's, dude, Ferg's
was
is
sick.
I would stop at Ferg's. I would recommend stopping at Ferg's to
Yeah.
anybody on the planet. If you're ever in the St. Pete's area for
Yes.
Florida, you have to stop at Ferg's.
Yeah,
Ferg's
which
was
one first?
that was the one that had like 18 bars in
Oh,
one. The,
it
had the
big ass
Papa
sports
Shot.
bar.
Yeah. Not to
That
mention the little
place-
gazebos with your own private TV to watch like the games. and
If
shit.
you lived in that area, that's got to be like the bar that you hang out at.
Well, it was right next to the baseball stadium.
Yeah, yeah. So people were saying like every major sporting event, that place is mobbed,
it's like
which I
Xfinity Live,
which
for
I
us.
believe it. But think about it. There's like 8 bars in there.
It's so
I'm not even making that up. It's not being
It's so
exaggeratory.
sick.
They have an inside bar where the bathrooms were on the inside of the area. They had 2 big bars that were like the main as soon as you walk in area. They had one down low by the basketball
Mhm.
court. And then they had another one by that live stage that they had where they were playing
Yeah.
soccer. And I think there might have been one more somewhere else.
There was some
a huge
upstairs.
place.
Yeah, it was absolutely. I can't sell it. I can't sell it highly enough.
Yeah.
It was insane.
And what was cool about it, because we're used to, I mean, the Xfinity Live is in Philly, which is like heralded around here as being so sick. What was awesome about Ferg's was it didn't feel corporate at all.
No.
Like it felt like it was just kind of cobbled together.
I almost wish it was a little more corporate.
No, I like the, I don't know, I like the grit of it.
It was very like haphazard.
It looked like they kept building on it every 5
There was a
They did,
couple.
yes.
There was a couple
I agree.
times where like we were walking to the bathrooms and stuff where I go, I don't think the public's supposed to be in this area. Like it was just like behind the scenes in the bar. You
Very
could just
free roam.
yeah, it was very free roam. How would you manage that
You
place?
can't.
Like how do you manage where
Florida,
people
baby.
go? It's just
true.
gigantic. It's Florida. We're in a golf cart in the morning driving down back roads in the main road, even though we
The golf
probably
cart
shouldn't
was
have
so
been.
sick.
My favorite story of the whole trip, and we can end on this, was after we, I don't want to say ditched the first group, but after we got separated from the first group.
Yeah, we proper ditched them. I'll own it, but we ditched them.
The second group got together later that night and went out to another bar, and then they left Mike
Oh, I never
He
heard
had to walk
this.
home.
He had to walk like a mile and a half.
I never heard this
He went
story.
like this. He's like, hold on, let me just like close out my tab.
Oh
And
my
he thought he
god.
to grab one more, and they just took off.
Where'd they wind up going?
They went to like one of the bars. It was like
One of the main street bars.
Remember where we got the orange crushes?
Yeah.
They went to like a bar like on that.
On the other way, yeah. Because there was that one, and then the opposite direction of the house, there was like one or two that
But
way.
the fact it was Mike is the best part.
So Mike had
Oh,
to
that's
walk
so
a mile and a
funny.
half back at like 2 in the morning. It was like, I just got left by 2 separate groups. He's like, is it me?
Oh shit, you're right, because we left them behind.
Seeing him later that night was that was the funniest story.
I felt really bad when we were walking to the tiki bar that we left all those people, and then once we got there and got the first drink and the music was going, I felt a little less bad.
The reason I didn't feel terrible, I felt bad for Ryan Malloy because he was genuinely hurt. He wanted to go so.
Olsen wanted to go. Mike Haley wanted to go.
Yeah, actually, no, you're right. It's
Most
Ryan
wanted
Olsen.
to go.
Yeah.
While we're at it, we might as well just name drop everybody in the
But, like,
entire group.
Here's the thing. I know they all wanted to go. The difference is when the rubber hit the road, 4 or 5 people started making steps toward
That
home.
was my fault.
Oh, okay.
I looked at Mike and I was like, dude, I had everything under the sun. I'm like, let's get closer to the house. That way, whoever wants to do whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that was my fault. That's why
You made the wise choice.
And then switched.
Dude, as soon as I got the call, I'm like, I'm not ready to go home. It was
You made the wise call. We just brought the
We just
worst
talked
out
it
of
out.
you. Yeah. But I have to say, it was an awesome trip. We can certainly end on that.
Yeah.
Thank you for recapping that with me, gentlemen, because it was a blast. And thank you all for listening to our nonsense.
Yeah. So we'll be off for next week, back to following, and then we'll have to look at the calendar and see if we get one more in before Jeff's wedding or not.
It's a month from today. Crazy.
Yeah, so we should be able to get to...
No, right? It's on a weekend.
13th, technically.
Okay, yeah. So we'll be able to squeeze one more in before your
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
So then, sweet. Well, we'll catch you for 2 more episodes. But in the meantime, it's Chris. I'm Brandon. That's our correspondent / guest star, Jeff. And we are the Whiskey Gingers. See you later.